We're launching Microsoft Founders Club, and it is my pleasure to invite you to this series. We have the privilege of bringing together an incredible group of founders and senior leadership team members from Microsoft and other companies like LinkedIn and GitHub. We come together as a community to ideate around the emerging opportunities that generative AI is bringing up. We brainstorm around the agile build scenarios, as well as the skills and capabilities we need to stay relevant in today's economic dynamic. So join us and meet our founders.
Hello, and welcome to the next episode in our series, Meet the AI Founders. Today, we have Peiru from KeyReply. Peiru, how are you doing today?
Nice to meet you. Really excited to have a conversation, yeah.
Really excited to have you here as well. Let's start off with your journey as a founder and what led you to KeyReply. Tell us about your journey that led you to this point.
Wow, I think every entrepreneur has a very unique story behind. So for me, KeyReply is my third company. And it really started from my first company that I've sold since. It was a really challenging start to it where my first task was to turn around a near bankrupt company.
Oh, wow.
And that was like a journey of humongous transformation where you don't have funds, you don't have resources to do that. And I think in a way, because of that, it forced me to look into technology. It forced me to look into ways of solving problems without the luxury of tons of resources. And I think from that whole transformation journey, I realized that, hey, technology is gives a huge leverage to companies to make things happen without relying on huge manpower, or you can't just buy or throw bodies at problems, right, to make them go away.
Yep.
And I think the whole automation process, the whole rethinking workflows, that whole thing, I think now in retrospect, it seemed very obvious, right?
Yeah.
Workflow automation, process automation with AI. But I think when you look at it about 10 years ago or 12 years ago, where technology is still very nascent, I think that whole process of implementation really brought me to what KeyReply does today. And I think sometimes when you are faced with the hardest problems, where you're really, your back is against the wall,
Yep.
where you have no other choice, I think this really forces you to think out of the box.
And why healthcare? Like, why did you think about going into the healthcare space? Is that something that you come from? Would love to know more about that.
There's one part of my background that I have not shared very much, which is that my family, they are all physicians. And I used to resist going into healthcare because I know the sheer amount of responsibility it takes and what it means to be, a physician or clinician. But I think, I think fate has it that I've been really, really focused on like working on AI in natural language technologies and in process automation. And, through my experiences in healthcare with my family, and I think the turning point was when my mom was diagnosed with one of the 30 serious critical illnesses, and I was completely helpless. Like, I had no idea what was going on. I had no access to her records, and despite our best efforts, we were just feeling very helpless on what we could do. I think that helped me to really realize that, hey, I want to do something more meaningful about automation. I'm not that motivated on just automating someone's job away or replacing some Excel tasks, right? If I'm going to pour the next, foreseeable future, my future into doing something, I want to make it impactful and meaningful. And hence, once we gotten an opportunity to work on more healthcare related applications, I really jumped at the opportunity to do so.
Really sorry to hear about what you had to go through to get to this point, but it's really inspiring to see how you took that situation to help millions around the world when it comes to automation and personalized healthcare.
Yeah, I think healthcare is something that when you face it, you realize how helpless you are.
Yep.
But until that happens, it seems like it's always someone else's problem, right?
Just shifting gears for a bit on the technology side, Peiru, you're at the cutting edge of innovation today with generative AI and personalized healthcare. So what is it that KeyReply does, and what does it do so differently when it comes to the healthcare space?
Yeah, I think healthcare is a space where it's high risk and you have to take a lot of responsibility, do no harm, and make sure that you understand what the big picture looks like, yet keeping yourself honest about what it takes to go into production mode in the whole industry. So for us, we have always focused on solving the problem and understanding the workflows and making sure that whoever we work with, be it clinicians or people who are working on the operating side, we know their workflows as well or even better than they do, so that when we work with them, we take away a lot of the thinking for them, so that as much as possible, it is plug and play for them.
Yep.
And we think about things not just today, but we can already tell them, hey, 1 year down the road, 2 years, 3 years down the road, this is what it would look like. And these are some of the obstacles or things that you can face. And we help them address that along the way, yet being honest and quick to implement. And I think this is beyond just AI. You need to understand what AI can do and its limitations,
yep,
and yet bring in the best practices in data preparation and getting their team all on board to implement the whole thing end to end in a sustainable way. Because we know that, AI implementation, it can't be a one-off. It can't be something that, is just for the innovation team.
yep.
People on the ground, they need to know how to use it. They need something low to no code to manage it,
Yep.
so that in the long run, it is sustainable and it's not reliant on highly technical people to implement. And having this whole mini ecosystem in place is something that we bring to the table to help them resolve a lot of the issues that they don't even know that they have to look at the start. And I think this helps us to help them sidestep a lot of the issues when it comes to production.
So Peiru, how are you looking at hyper-personalizing the healthcare space?
In this area, I think that's where GenAI really shines. Right? So in many of our implementations, we know exactly what the protocol should look like, right? What steps 1, 2, 3, what the workflow should look like. But I think with GenAI, we are able to really drill into how the patient is feeling. We are able to be empathetic, right? Through sentiment analysis, we know exactly how they feel. We can map it exactly to how they're feeling, the intensity, and based on that, their response will be very personalized to them, their condition, their background, and all the context that we have been collecting so far through all the interactions. And I think this is something that is very unique to healthcare, where you have to be efficient, but yet you have to have that human touch. And GenAI really shines in this area.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Peiru. Just switching gears for a bit, talking about Microsoft Founders Club and how the experience has been for you, and how can we continue supporting you in your co-innovation and go-to-market?
I think the really interesting thing about the Founders Club is that it seems like there are no limits to what's possible. And, just picking up the phone, asking for help to, go to market, to speak about an account, and even on the technical side to understand what are the new features that are coming out, so that when we are planning our roadmap, we get some heads up about what's coming up. I think all these are things that will be super helpful to any startup, especially in the GenAI space where things are moving so fast, and we are all, always thinking about what's next, not just for ourselves, but to prepare our clients to understand what they can get or what they can expect, not just today, but 6 months down the road, 1 year down the road. And this is very important, especially for enterprise accounts.
Thank you so much for sharing, Peiru. Honestly, the kind of work you're doing in the healthcare space, expanding into insurance, and working on the most cutting-edge solutions that we can bring to life together with our customers. It's a unique opportunity that we are pursuing together. Thank you for being a part of the Microsoft Founders Club and for doing this. And thank you so much for listening in.